Alright, I'm making this video for not real name, not at all. Her YouTube channel is pretty cool. She covers a lot of FNAF, and you guys should go check that out. But anyways, this is the Five Nights at Freddy's Swap AU. This AU was loosely inspired by the Friday Night Funkin' mod Bear 5 retake. Bear 5, he's essentially a gag character, but the retake mod of him basically made him took him into a pretty interesting topic, which was that it was essentially another William Afton, but instead it was Henry Emily. It was a alternate version of FNAF where Henry was the man behind the slaughter, and the Bear 5 suit was the one that he wore instead of the Spring Bonnie suit. And I just thought, William and Henry swapping places is an interesting concept, but let's take it a bit further and make an entire alternate universe that's about swapping everybody around. So first up, we have FNAF 1. We have Freddy here. He's still the main member of the band, but as you can tell, it's Jeremy that possesses him. Now, most people agree that Gabriel is the one that possesses Freddy in the original AU. And yeah, Jeremy will possess Freddy in this AU. Now, as you can see, he wears a fedora and a necktie instead of the top hat and bow tie that Freddy usually wears. He gets angry easily, and he's always the first one to move. Yeah. So, because Jeremy is mostly the same in this AU, Freddy's essentially going to act like Bonnie in this AU. And that kind of sums it up for everyone else. Their behaviors are changed based on the soul that possesses them. We have this version of Bonnie, which has a banjo instead of a guitar. He is camera shy, which is basically like Foxy, where he doesn't come as often as long as the cameras are on him. Will become aggressive if stared at. Yeah. Basically, if you stare at him for a long time, then the longer you go without him staring at, the more you stare at him, the angrier he gets. And the longer you go without staring at him, the closer he gets. Sprints down the halls. Once he reaches the entrance to a hallway, he will sprint down it. This makes him a bit of a threat. As you can see, it's Fritz. And though he is slower than Foxy, which means you have a bigger opportunity to defend against him, he did still sprint down the hallway pretty fast. So you have to keep a close eye on him at all times. Next up, we have Chica. In this version, she's a vegan, and instead of a cupcake, she has Brock, the broccoli. She's the most aggressive animatronic due to the fact that she is possessed by Cassidy, who we all know is the most aggressive out of all the souls. Now, flipping this around, we have Foxy, who is a sailor instead of a pirate. Instead of the stereotypical pirate, we instead have a full-blown sailor. He hides in the shadows because Gabriel, as you can tell, like I said, their behaviors change depending on who possesses them. Right here we have Golden Bonnie. This is mostly because in this, similar to this AU, Spring Bonnie and Fredbear kind of swap around. So instead of going Freddy, we have Golden Bonnie. Prefers to be unseen, can appear in the office, but is harmless. And a chance to appear on the cameras. As you can tell, Michael and Susie are the ones that possess him. This is due to the fact that the crying child, Chris, Evan, Dave, Logan, whatever you call him, he is still afraid of the animatronics. He is a lot older now. So as you can tell, he and Michael are the ones swapping places in this one. This does, of course, play off the fact that Michael is an Afton. The two of them are Aftons. But still, you get the point. FNAF 2, we move on to. There isn't really a whole lot to think. There isn't a whole lot of differences about the toys other than the changes that are already said, such as the banjo, which I forgot to color in this one. Bango is wearing a sailor's hat. Toy Chica has Brock, and Freddy has his bow tie and fedora. I keep missing that. We have the puppet, which is possessed by Elizabeth Afton. She is manipulative, can control the... Why did I write students? It's supposed to be the toys. Desperate for freedom. Yeah. So in the lore, it is implied that the puppet can control the toys and the withered animatronics, because the withered animatronics aren't possessed, not yet at least, and they are mostly just being puppeteered by the puppet. As you can tell, I kind of made some changes to her design. It is blurring a lot. I made some changes to her design, so you can tell that she's different from the original. So yeah, this one is a lot more cold and quiet than the original puppet is. And it is a lot more aggressive and dangerous. Moving on to FNAF 3. We meet the main one of this AU, which is Bear Trap / Henry Emily. As you can tell, this is Fred Bear, but if he was Springtrap. And Henry, the man behind the slaughter and inside the suit. This is, spoiler, this ends up happening in the Bear 5 mod of FNAF. And here we have the Phantoms, which aren't too all that different, except for Withered Barney, who is not a character in the actual game. But of course, since Springtrap is now Bear Trap, we can't have a Phantom Bear, so instead we have a Phantom Bonnie. Moving on to FNAF 4. This one is the one with the most changes, I believe. We have Nightmare Spring Bonnie. And I mostly sum up Nightmare as being the very embodiment of the crying child's fears. And basically everything that he's afraid of is all summed up into this little thing right here. This ugly mother. We have Night Marionette / Night Marione. His actual name is Night Marione, but I prefer to call them Night Marionette because, like, that is just so much better. And of course, the lore is that Night Marionette is the Grim Reaper coming to take the Bite of 83 victim. They are the Grim Reaper, the embodiment of death, as you will. And after the Bite of 83, they come to take away their victim, which in this case is Michael. And this is how it ended up going down. They stuffed the crying child into the Spring Bonnie's mouth, but it didn't go off right away. The spring was kind of like jammed, but then Michael decides to stick his head in just to be like, see, it isn't that scary. And then snap, crunch, smush. And then here is kind of like what is going on in Chris's head. Spring Bonnie with a broken Foxy mask inside, which kind of makes it obvious as to what's going on. And ever since that day, he has had terrifying visions of the animatronics. So basically, instead of leading up to the Bite of 87, FNAF 4 takes place after the Bite of 87. After that incident, the crying child has been more afraid than ever, which has led to the nightmares coming after him. Of course, they are just hallucinations of his, and they aren't actually real. But it does make sense, if you ask me. Of course, he deals with Nightmare. Meanwhile, in the hospital, the Night Marionette comes after Michael. After 8 days, Michael ends up succumbing to his injuries, and Night Marione goes, "I've come for you." I tried to mimic the sort of stuttery, glitchy repeat sort of thing. If you played Ultimate Custom Night and you got jump scared by Night Marione, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Moving on to Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. Now, the I know it's supposed to be an A. I really messed up with that because I'm gonna confess, I do watch Five Nights in anime sometimes. Sometimes. And I don't know why, but the I just keeps coming up. Now, remember what I said about FNAF 4 being changed a lot? The most changed? I was wrong about that. The most changed is sister location. First up, we have Baby Ballerina, who of course is possessed by Charlie because she and Elizabeth swap places. And of course, Circus Baby is now basically this version of Ballora, sort of. Now, Charlie is not as manipulative as Elizabeth is, but she is still willing to scoop out somebody in order to get away. Here we have the hatch that opens up to stuff someone inside of. Now, the way this works is that after Henry murders Elizabeth and she ends up possessing the puppet, Charlie, who was best friends with Elizabeth, misses her best friend, so she goes to Baby Ballerina despite her father telling her not to go near her, where she basically tries to open up to her, even though she's an animatronic, but she is a child, so you get it. She opens up to Baby Ballerina. Baby Ballerina invites her to a dance, and after the dance, let's just say Charlie was never seen again. Now we have Mrs. Circus, who is Ballora in this AU. I kind of made her look terrible. Honestly, my art style is not that good for animatronics. But yeah, she's basically a Circus Baby in this version of Circus Baby. She has ear holes in her fingers to blow up the balloons. The balloon supply is hidden in the back. Like in the middle of her back, there's like a little hatch that stores balloons in it that she can reach into. To get balloons. Funtime Bonnie and Fred. Obviously, Bon Bon and Funtime Freddy have swapped places. Now, something that I did make is that Funtime Bonnie is less psychotic than the Funtime Freddy, but he is a lot more cruel, you know what I mean? He has the same storage tank for him. What's different here is that he doesn't speak, actually. He's actually very quiet. Instead, it's Fred, the Funtime Freddy hand puppet. I have Ankle Biter because he's a little ankle biter. He's an aggressive little piece of crap. And he taunts the victims. Yeah, he's the psychotic one. He's not the one doing the killing, but he does like to play with the prey before he executes them. Finishing up with the main cast, or mostly with the main cast, we have Funtime Chica, who is obviously taking Funtime Foxy's place. Funtime Foxy and Funtime Chica swap places. So Funtime Chica has the same equipment as Funtime Foxy. The difference between her and the others is that she has Mr. Potato instead of Brock. Next up we have the questionably canon characters, which are the characters that we aren't sure are canon. But yeah, first up we have Yendo and Foxane, which is supposed to be the Bonnet of this AU. This is my own personal interpretation of what Yendo and Bonnet are. And I personally think that Yendo was originally supposed to replace Funtime Freddy because he had went missing, but they ended up finding him later, and it would have been more expensive to finish Yendo than it would have just put Funtime Freddy back on the stage. Bonnet was finished, but Yendo was not. That's why he's just an endoskeleton. And in this rendition, Bonnet is a Funtime Foxy hand puppet, and as you can see, Yendo is a Bonnie endoskeleton now. Next up we have Lolbit, who is a green Funtime Freddy. Now I would have just made him orange and purple, but that felt a little too on the nose, so I decided to swap it up a little bit and make it green. AI virus in the system. This is my interpretation of what Lolbit is. Lolbit is some strange AI that is in the system of sister location, computer system. And that's what they kind of are. a sort of virus to make things a bit difficult for you. Now, lastly, we have Ennard, of course. There isn't too much about him that's changed, aside from his little hat there, as you can probably tell. I don't know if you can tell. The head, like the head and face, is mostly from Funtime Chica. His chest is from Funtime Bonnie, similar to the OG. The legs are from Yendo. His arms are from Mrs. Circus. And the waist is from Baby Ballerina. Like, they all took parts of themselves and put them into this thing. Now for the PS is for Pizza Simulator. The Rockstars aren't all that different, but now we have the, what are they called? The other Pizza Simulator robots that appear in Ultimate Custom Night. First up, we got Neddy, who is Ned. He is obviously a Bonnie. He acts drunk, as per usual. I mean, I don't know if Ned acts drunk, but I like to think that he does, especially with the way his eyes are. He has the necktie, but he has a top hat now. And next up, we have the rest of the Melody. I think their name has Melody in it. But we got Pig Patch, who is the main singer in this version. He loves telling jokes. In Ultimate Custom Night, he often says some weird phrases, like a old wise man would say, even though he doesn't sound that old. He sounds more like a middle-aged countryman. So this is my interpretation of what he would end up like in the Swap AU. Next up, we got Froggy. In this interpretation, she has the guitar to replace Pig Patch's banjo. She hates it when people call her small. And then pretends to hate cute things, but actually really likes them. That's just a little fun thing that I would like to make about the Ultimate Custom Night. In the Ultimate Custom Night, they kind of like have these little personalities. And this is just my interpretation of what her personality would be like in the Ultimate Custom Night. Next up, we got Mr. Hippo, who swaps places with Orville, and he's the magician. He has a magic wand, his wizard hat. He's a bit of a fantasy geek in this version. You know what I mean? Next up, we have Orville, who is the Mr. Hippo of this place. He likes to tell these long, dragged-out stories, but he gets distracted easily, which kind of makes him take longer. Here we have Righty, who is the lefty of this AU. Has the puppet trapped inside. If I can get this to stop blurring out, you can kind of see the eyes poking out of the mouth, and has that lock to hold the stomach hatch shut after they trap the puppet inside. Of course, William and Henry swap places in this AU, so William is the one behind the Pizza Simulator. So he created Righty in order to trap the puppet inside there. Next up, we have Scrap Ballerina, which is Scrap Baby. And then we have the same roller skates, the wire hair. Now, it is debatable as to why she left the Ennard suit. My interpretation is that she was no longer able to keep inside the suit and ended up falling out. So they needed to make her a new body, which is where Scrap Baby comes in, and then obviously Scrap Ballerina. Next up, we have the knife fingers to replace the big claw. I honestly don't have a problem with the giant claw that Scrap Baby has, but I've seen a lot of people having problems with it. So instead, I have like her fingers are now knives. Now, I do personally think this does make her a bit different because now she can actually put those roller skates to good use, being that she skates around really fast and she can slice you with those. Compared with the knives, compared to the claw, which is big and heavy and would slow her down a lot. Next up, we have Molten Bonnie, of course. A spare Bonnie head. Now, the arms were replaced with endo arms, but for some reason, my brain short-circuited and thought that Ballerina was the arms when it was Mrs. Circus. So basically, the hip gives out, so that's why they're basically a pile of wires now. They don't have anything to support themselves on their legs. so they fall over and are now just a mess of wires. Next up, we have Scrap Bear, which is bear trap, but way worse. We have the bones sticking out everywhere, a knife with a string attaching it to that. So yeah, I hope that gives you a good idea as to what I've made up for this FNAF AU, and I hope you enjoyed it and really liked it.